Seattle decided to get a story. And in order to get a story, he had to go in the air. So he hired a helicopter pilot. And if you know Seattle, this is a very obvious case of what happens a lot. They went up in the air, and they started to do what the reporter needed, and he's got his clipboard, he's taking notes, and then the project is over, and the fog rolled in. And the pilot looked at the reporter, and he said, "You're not going to believe this, but I'm lost. And I don't know where to land." So he said, "I'll tell you what we're going to do. You see that skyscraper over there? We're going to hover next to a window as close as we can, and I want you to write in big letters on a clipboard these words and hold it up to the window." So he did. And it said, "Where am I?" A young man on the inside of the building immediately wrote back, "You're in a helicopter." 5 minutes later, he landed the helicopter. And the reporter was amazed. He was amazed. He said, "How in the world from that did you figure out where you were?" He said, "I knew by the way he answered that was the Microsoft building." He said, "Because computer people give you information that's technically correct, but totally useless." That is our culture. That information didn't take away your depression. That information, that drug, that chemical, that affair, that self-loathing that you developed as a product of the way you've been living, and the disaster after disaster in relationships, in the vicious cycle. At what point do you finally say, "You know what, I'm living by useless information"? And the Bible looks at you and says, "You're thirsty and you could have had water. And you're hungry and you could have had food. You could have had the bread of life that would turn your nightmare into a heavenly vision of peace and joy and direction." Oh, listen to me. I'm working on some real applause here. You could have known what you were born to do. You could have been the person you always wanted to be. You could have been a force for good instead of an incubated echo chamber of half cures, false answers, and dissatisfied living. Somebody better help me preach a little bit.